Hello everyone, I'm Aaron from DataStax, and today I'm going to take you through part 6B. It'll be a little extension on the video that we just did. And this one again is going to be still on the subject of migrating an enterprise e-commerce site up to go ahead and use the table API. But in this one, what we're going to do is address the manual index that we saw in the last video for the user by email. And what we're going to do is remodel. So we're going to dig into some data modeling here, and we're going to remodel that approach so that we just need the one user table. All right, let's go. All right, so let's start out by having a look at our e-commerce key space. So if I say desk tables, the two tables that I'm primarily concerned with today is going to be user by email. Yeah, there we go. This is what we talked about last time as being sort of the manual indexing data modeling approach. So let's say for a second that we didn't want to do this. Let's go ahead and look at select star from user. We have 3 user rows out there. Well, they're all me, but they're out there, and one of them must not have made it over to user by email, but that's okay. That's probably, there's probably some old data out here, but that's all right. So let's say that we didn't want to have to use these two tables in conjunction with each other to support pulling back user data. So the ideal approach then would be, let's say, select star from, let's say, user by email, where user email equals, and then my main email address that we've been using is aaron.plutz@datastax.com. There we go. So that pulls back the user ID that we would then take and then use to query that user table. So what if we just did an up arrow on this and went back and tried that? And of course, that's an invalid query because, well, we're not using allow filtering and we don't have an index on it yet. So let's take care of that. Let's go ahead and say create custom index on ecommerce.user, and we're going to say user email as our column. So we're going to create our index on that column, just like that. And then we're going to say using storage attached index to make sure that we are using the new storage attached indexing feature that is available in Cassandra 5 and AstroDB. This is going to be a much more efficient way of indexing and pulling back data by something other than the primary key versus all of the other indexing strategies that have been used in Cassandra. So let's give that a shot. All right. And then let's go ahead and up arrow and then run our select. Maybe it takes a second for that index to build. We've waited a little bit to try to give Astro a little bit of time to build that index. So let's go ahead and give this a shot again. So let's say use e-commerce desk table user. There we go. We have our table user. You can see that we do in fact have our index right down here, and it is on that user email column, which is right up here. We could say select star from user. Yeah, okay, we have our rows out there. Okay, let's see if it'll work this time. Where user email equals aaron.plutz@datastax.com. Hey, there we go. All right. We just must have needed to give it a little bit of time to get that index build run. So, okay, we have this working. So now, how do we get it to happen inside of our application? Well, let's go have a look at our data API services here. And if we go down Yeah, here we go. So we have, yep, get user by email. Oh, we have, right. So we can save that record into that user by email table. I bet you there's a lot of times here where we're trying to go ahead and keep those tables in sync, whether by saves, updates, or deletes. So if we were able to get this to work, we could actually get rid of quite a bit of that. So let's start with get user by email. Let's just try that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go and put it right under this this other one here. So let's say public optional user table entity. And I'm going to say get user by email, and we'll say string email, just like that. All right. This looks correct. Now it's throwing a fit because it's saying that we have a duplicate method. So in order to make this happen, we're going to go ahead and have to, we'll just comment this one out for now. Okay, so let's have a look at the Data API configuration class here. So what we're going to do is we are going to operate, just to make things less confusing, we're going to operate as if this table, this user by email table, doesn't exist. There. And then let's check out API services. And same thing. Now this is definitely going to break some things, but that's okay. All right. So let's comment out this save user by email. So we shouldn't need that anymore. As well as this delete user by email. Yeah. There. That should all be okay. All right, let's get rid of this user by email table entity. There. That should break some things. Okay. And then we can go down here and we want user table entity. You know, that's all okay. That's all okay. This, however, do not need to do whatsoever. So let's go source, toggle comment. There. And then we go down here. Existing user is found. We should not need to do that or that. Really what we're going to do, yeah, you can just and say existing user get. All right, that should do it. Next, yep, we have another one of these. So let's go user table entity. Actually, we should be able to get rid of that. Yeah, so we're pulling the user data. If it's not, yeah, let's take that, get rid of that, and replace it with that. There we go. Okay, so if user, let's Let's make this a little easier to read. So if user is present, we'll go ahead and say user get and map that as the response back to user. And if it is not, we'll just do a response entity not found build. Okay. Now just going to say get user by email and pass that. There we go. Okay, let's scroll down here. All right, again, starting off with, yeah, just getting rid of that. And this is kind of going to follow the same approach that we used before. So if it's not present, yep, create new. Okay. And we shouldn't need to do any of this. There. And if it is true, we can really just return existing user and not have to do anything else. There. Okay. Next. Oh yeah, this is for updating the user. So we wanted to check if the email address has changed. So again, let's get rid of that. And we're pulling back by email. Yep, check the password. All right, email has changed. Again, so we don't need to bother with that at all. And we don't need to delete it either. Actually, yeah, look at that. We can comment out this entire nested if check there. Yeah, that is okay. Oh, and this old email, yep, we are not even using that. Oh yeah, you know what? We don't need any of this. That's right. There. Okay. Now what did that? Oh yeah, we don't even need to track if the email has changed because we're not storing it in two separate tables. There we go. Okay, all right. This should now work. So let's go ahead and do a run as Java application. All right, let's go back to here, maybe do a little refresh. All right, let's say log in and Google. Oh, it didn't like something there. E-commerce user defines the columns. Oh, there's another read here where we're pulling back addresses. Okay, so we need, first of all, to stop this. And second of all, let's have a look here. Oh, yep. We are going to need to also run a projection on this. So let's go ahead and create a projection. And then we'll also say just like that. And then we can say filter options. There we go. So now we're going to be pulling back by user email out of the user table. Yep, user repository. And we're also going to set addresses to false in our projection. So let's give that a shot. Okay, we're running. Let's go back here and refresh. And oh, hey, look, we're in. I can go here and look. Yep, I have the logout button. I have 2 items in my cart. Okay, so this is working. we have successfully retooled the user subsystem to not worry about that manual index table, otherwise known as user by email. So by using the new storage attach index feature that you have in AstroDB and also in Apache Cassandra 5.0, we no longer need to worry about building a manual index ourselves. All right, everyone. This should be the last session that we have on the migrating an e-commerce enterprise site, up to use the table API. I really just wanted to circle back and go ahead and cover, how to move ahead and move past, some of the data modeling tricks that we used to use, more than a decade ago. So anyway, storage attach indexes kind of gets us around needing to store duplicate copies of our data, or even in a manual index structure like we were using. And it makes it so that we can more proficiently make that call just on our user table. All right. Hey, thanks for joining in, and we'll see you all later. Want more information on modernizing your self-managed Cassandra deployments? Head on out to datastax.com/modernize-apache-cassandra-workloads, and you'll find all the information you need on keeping your self-managed Cassandra cluster updated and in top running form. Thank you, and have a great day.